Hi everyone, welcome back. If you haven't had a chance to tune into our previous lessons, I strongly suggest that you go back and do so. If you are tuning in for the first time, my name is Lauren. I work for a group in Lancaster, Pennsylvania called Compass Mark. We provide a program called Leaders of Future Generations to a couple schools in our area. We've been talking on a lot of different really important topics and life skill topics. Today's topic is one that is definitely geared towards kids, but in reality, it's something that all of us need to focus on. In our last lesson, we learned about friendship and qualities that make a good or bad friend. So today we're actually going to take that one step further and talk about something called peer pressure. But first, we are going to look at our quote of the day. Today's quote comes from American author Phoebe Waller, and Phoebe said, "The recipe to ignoring peer pressure is feeling confident in who you are." Okay, we'll talk about that later. So first, what is a peer? We have to understand what a peer actually is. So a peer, P-E-E-R, is someone around the same age or situation as you. So if you're a fifth grader in a school with fifth and sixth graders, then all the students are your peers. So it doesn't have to be someone who's exactly 12 years old if you're 12 years old, but someone who is around you in that kind of way and kind of is going through or dealing with similar things to what you are. So for example, the teachers in your school are not your peers, and your parents are not your peers, and I am not your peer. Okay, so when your parents tell you to clean your room or your teachers tell you to do your homework, they're not pressuring you with peer pressure, okay? They're just doing their job and holding you responsible. Peer pressure is when a friend or a peer tries to get you to do something that you don't want to do. Okay, so they're not forcing you, and it's important to understand that the decision, the power, the choice is all yours. So although these situations can get really difficult and challenging and sometimes are really hard to refuse, the reality is that it's someone trying to get you to do something and you're the one who can either give in or refuse it. When someone we respect is trying to persuade us to do something, it can be even more challenging. So sometimes peer pressure might happen with kids that you don't really hang out with all the time, and it might be that comes with its own challenges, but it might be a little easier to say no to them. But imagine that this is someone who is one of your best friends, someone who knows you on a deeper level and you know them, and there's this trust between the two of you. And now they're trying to pressure you to do something that you don't want to do. In my opinion, that person has no respect for you, right? If they're supposed to respect you, then they should respect everything that you've decided you do or don't want to do. Okay, so it can be even more challenging when it's someone that we actually care about, somebody that is close to us who's trying to get us to do something. So if someone, so when we're little kids, our peers might pressure us. Like, what are some things that people pressure us to do is what I'm trying to get to, is when we're little, we might have been pressured to like break the rules or like step outside the bounds or prank somebody or, put something on someone's desk or something, still really disrespectful and definitely something that you don't want to do, but not as many consequences involved there. When you get older, peer pressure can become more intense, okay? Especially when you get to like middle school age and higher. It might be something like cheating on a test or vandalizing property, skipping school, stealing something, or even really dangerous situations like using drugs or alcohol or being around a weapon, something that could be really dangerous for you that you don't want to be a part of. When we think about peer pressure, we often think about these dangerous situations. But the truth is that it doesn't really matter what the thing is that they're trying to get you to do. If you decided you don't want to do it and someone is still trying to persuade you, then they're pressuring you. And that's not cool. The important thing to know is that you can stand up to peer pressure. And it takes a lot of confidence and assertive communication skills. So understanding that this is something that you really believe in that you don't want to do for whatever reason it might be. And that is okay. You're allowed to have your own opinions and your own desires to or to not do something. So being able to be confident in yourself with that is the first step. So I'm going to take you through a couple refusal strategies today. By a couple, I mean 9, because there are 9. And it's very important that we have all of these different strategies because not every situation is exactly the same. I mean, even the difference between being pressured by someone that you don't really know and being pressured by your best friend, those are very different dynamics. And so they take a lot of different strategies so that you can approach them in different ways. So we're going to go over a couple of these. The first one is called steer clear. And what this means is there's actually no pressure going on in this situation, but the possibility of pressure is there. Okay, so you know a situation could be dangerous, so you don't participate, you don't go. So let's say you hear about a party happening Friday night and there's a chance that there's going to be drugs or alcohol there, or their parents aren't home, or something could be going on that you know is not within your comfort zone and something that you want to do. So don't go, right? Don't go to the party, okay? Or if, kids tend to bully in a certain area of the playground and you know that it's a dangerous area to be because there's a lot of violence going on, don't go to that area of the playground, okay? So if you completely avoid the pressure from even occurring, no one pressured you, nothing happened, okay? Then you steered clear. So that takes understanding of what situations are and what maybe the expectations are in those situations to be able to know that this could be bad and I shouldn't go, okay? The second strategy is to say no, which seems pretty simple, okay? It's probably the most common thing that we do when we're standing up to someone who's trying to pressure us, but there's more to it than just saying no. So first of all, we have to be assertive, okay? If you're passive, so to remind you what passive means, back to our communication styles lessons, which if you didn't see that, I'd suggest you go back and check it out. Being passive is kind of being like shy, being nervous. Passive speakers tend to mumble. They tend to have very timid body language and keep their head down. And they definitely don't exude confidence, okay? So if you're trying to stand up to someone who's trying to get you to do something and you seem weak or nervous or like you could possibly be persuaded because you're not strong, they're going to keep pressuring you because they can see that it's possible. So I'm going to keep trying and get it out of this person. So passive is not going to work. Okay. If you come at someone with aggression, like you're like, no, I said no. And you're really aggressive about it and you're really mean. One, that could definitely wreck your relationship with that person. But two, they might not take you very seriously. Okay. And they might try again because you did not seem very sure of yourself. You were using a lot of, gestures and volume and things and different tools to show that you meant no, but you were, they might not take you seriously. Okay, so we want to be assertive, which to remind you is being confident, calm, very direct, and very clear. Okay, so there's no wiggle room. There's no mystery here. We are sure of ourselves. Okay, so the first step to being assertive is to stand tall. When you stand tall, I'm going to walk you through this. And if you're in a place where you could do this, I suggest that you get up and try it. I would, but I don't think it'll work as well. So you want to stand with your feet hip width apart. So a nice firm stance. You don't want to be too wide and definitely not too narrow. So perfectly hip width apart. Put your hands on your hips. And I want you to pop out one hip and put all of your weight into that hip. You should be kind of like stretching out your hip there. Feel like not so good. Okay. Then pop out your other hip and put all your weight into that hip. Okay, now I want you to go to the middle and find your sweet spot, the spot where you're not putting any extra weight on either hip. You're perfectly in the middle. Now listen carefully. I want you to think about your feet, and I want you to put the slightest amount more weight on the toes than the rest of your feet. So you're leaning forward so slightly. So someone watching you do this should hardly notice a difference, okay? If you're leaning so much that you're gonna fall over, you're doing it wrong, okay? You want to be perfectly balanced. This is a really good trick. We actually learned this in theater to have a good like firm stance on stage, but it works in life too. So when you're standing in this kind of way, you're bringing this forward energy about yourself and you're being very confident, but you're not being intimidating. So if you lean really far forward, like almost like bending at the hips, you seem more intimidating. That's aggressive, okay? And if you lean all the way back on the balls or on your heels, you could one, lose your balance, and two, people aren't going to take you as seriously. Also, the popping of the hip. So if you put all your weight on one side, like this, people don't take you as seriously. It doesn't seem like you're as firm or clear about what you're talking about. So you want to be centered and you want to have a little bit of energy forward. So your body is in a good, confident, assertive position. Okay? The next thing is you want to make sure that you are speaking up, that you're speaking confidently. So you want to use good volume. You don't want to be yelling and you don't want to be whispering. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't remember the story of the three bears, but you want the sweet spot. You want right in the middle, okay? So you want to have good, firm language. You don't want to say a lot like I just did, and you want to assert yourself in a very clear way, okay? The last thing is you want to make sure that you're using good eye contact, okay? So looking them in the eye. When you avoid eye contact, it makes it seem like you're passive, like you're not really sure of yourself. And when you use really glaring eye contact, then it makes you seem aggressive, okay? So all of these tools, standing tall, speaking up, and looking them in the eye, to be able to say no, to actually use the words, no, I don't want to do that, okay? Being very clear about it. All right. Our third strategy is to ignore. So believe it or not, but if you ignore someone who's trying to pressure you, they might actually go away. So you're at that party, dancing. Someone's trying to get you to do something that you don't want to do, and you just act like you don't hear them. You just keep dancing with your friends. Okay, eventually they're gonna get bored and walk away. All right. Another strategy is to walk away. So in this situation, you acknowledge that the pressure is happening. Someone's asking you to do something or telling you to do something, and you just walk away. You get out of the situation as quickly as possible. If you linger for more than 30 seconds, they're going to try to ask you again. Okay, so trying to get out of that situation as soon as you can, so that you can, so they can move on to someone else, so you're not being pressured anymore. Okay, the fifth strategy is called stating the facts. So when you state facts, this is basically telling the person why you don't want to do it. Okay, especially if it's a close friend and they want some kind of justification behind it. Okay, so if I skip school one more time, I'm going to get detention. Okay, that's an answer. That's a reason. If I get caught cheating on this test, I'm going to be grounded and I won't be able to go to the school dance, whatever it might be. No, smoking causes cancer and I don't want to get cancer. Okay, whatever it might be, that is your reason as to why you don't want to do it, tell them, okay? Another one is making an excuse, and I'm not condoning lying, but saying something that's going to help you get out of that situation. So like your friends are trying to get you to do something dangerous or, something that could hurt yourself, and you say, oh, shoot, my mom's calling me, I gotta go, or actually have to be home for dinner, or, I actually have a lot of homework to do Saturday night, I can't go to that party, or I have to go to the bathroom, okay, whatever it might be that can get you out of the situation, okay. Now you don't want to come up with something that's not real or unrealistic, like you have to babysit your little brother, but they know that you don't have a little brother. That wouldn't work, okay? So you want to make sure that it's something realistic and ideally something true or an actual reason why you can't do the thing that they're trying to get you to do, okay? Another one is suggesting a change. This is a really good one, especially if it's with your friends. So say all of your friends want to go to this party Friday night and you know that it's probably dangerous and probably not the best idea for you guys to go. Instead, how about we all stay home, play video games, and order some pizza? You would be surprised how many of your friends might actually be being pressured by someone else and jump at the chance to do something different. And you're that saving grace, that person that came up with a much better idea. Okay, so actually coming up with a different idea, okay? Number 8 is to repeat yourself. So continuing to tell them no. And doing so assertively, but just constantly saying it again. No, I don't want to skip school. I told you I don't want to skip school. Are you not hearing me? I said that I don't want to skip school. Okay, so continually telling them no. And the last one is reversing the pressure. This does not mean that we are now pressuring the person pressuring us. No, what this means is reminding them that you made a choice and that they're being disrespectful by trying to get you to do something otherwise. So it's kind of like turning it back on them, like saying something like, you're my friend, why are you trying to get me to do this? Or, you know why I can't skip school, why would you even try to get me to do that? Okay, so bringing it back on them, making them kind of realize that they're pressuring you and that's not cool. Okay, so it's really important. Those are the 9 strategies. To understand those strategies so that in a situation you can pick one and try it, because they might not all work for every situation. So being able to draw on the different ones is really important. Okay, and not all pressure from our peers is as obvious as someone coming up to you and asking you to do something. Okay, if you've ever been in a situation where no one tried to persuade you at all to do anything, but you did something that you knew you probably shouldn't, or that got you in trouble, or was bad for you just to fit in or to be accepted, then you've experienced something called peer influence. This is self-inflicted influence or self-inflicted pressure that comes from our own head. So it's actually a lot stronger than peer pressure because it's yourself that you're trying to convince not to think a certain way or not to do something. When we let the actions and choices of other people influence what we do, and we don't stop to think about what we truly want or consider the consequences, then we're letting our peers influence us. So here's an example. Let's say there's a group of kids at school that really like mohawks, and you hear them talking about it all the time. And they have like a poster of someone with a mohawk, and they have notebooks with people with mohawks, and you know they really like mohawks, okay? So you decide, before even trying to be friends with them, that you're gonna cut your hair into a mohawk. So you do it. You get the mohawk. You really didn't want a mohawk. You liked your hair, but you did it anyway. So did anyone make you get a mohawk? No. Who made the decision? You did. And why did you do it? To fit in with a crowd. Do you think that you had to get a mohawk to fit in with these kids or to be friends with them? Probably not. But you'll never know because you already got the mohawk. Okay, so often we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to behave a certain way or to make certain choices because we think it's what the kids are going to want us to do. We think it's what our peers are expecting of us, when in reality, they might not. And a lot of people are so concerned with themselves and themselves fitting in that they're not really paying attention to what you're doing. Okay, so we have to be careful too of the choices that we make and reminding ourselves, you know, just like when we talked about with goals, is this personal? Is this something that I want to do because I want to do it? Or am I being influenced by my peers to be someone that I'm not? But it's also important to note that peer influence is not always a bad thing. Our friends and peers can actually influence us to work harder or to try for things that are maybe beyond our comfort zone or that we needed a little push to do. So suppose you were really impressed by your friend's effort to qualify for the track team or something. You might actually consider following your friend's example and trying out for something that you want to be a part of because you saw the guts that it took for your friend to do it and now you want to do it too. That kind of positive peer influence is great. Or maybe all of your friends are studying for the midterms and you join them and you see how hard they're working and it makes you want to work harder. That's awesome. That's a great thing because it's something you wanted to do, but they helped influence you to go further with it. So having a positive peer influence can be an asset on your journey to reaching your goals. We have to be sure that we surround ourselves with peers who have a positive impact on our lives and not a negative one. And if you find yourself surrounded by peers or friends that are constantly trying to get you to do something that you've clearly told them you don't want to do, it might be time to reevaluate that friendship and see if that friend really has your best interest at heart or if they just have an agenda they're trying to get you to follow. So let's take a look back at our quote of the day today. Our quote is from American author Phoebe Waller. And to remind you, Phoebe said, "The recipe to ignoring peer pressure is feeling confident in who you are." I think Phoebe is trying to remind us that if you have a strong foundation in who you are, so if you believe in yourself, if you have strong confidence, strong self-esteem, and you know the kind of person that you want to be, and that you understand your values, then you have everything you need to refuse peer pressure. No one can make you do something that you don't want to do. It's up to you to refuse it, to get out of that situation, and to continue with your values and be steadfast in who you are. Okay, so let's talk about our discussion questions for today. Number 1, how have you been positively influenced by your peers? Number 2, How do you influence your peers? And number 3, describe a time when you were pressured to do something. Did you refuse it? And if so, how did you refuse it? So ideally, I would love you to be doing this discussion with someone in your home or a friend maybe that you call on the phone or you FaceTime with. But if you just want to do it by yourself, that's fine too. You could make it kind of like a journal entry, or you could write in the comments below, and I would love to talk with you about it. But yeah, I hope you do those discussion questions. For our at-home activity today, I've listed a couple examples in the info section at the bottom of this video. I want you to go through each situation and decide how you would respond to the pressure. So use one of the strategies or all the strategies above and actually decide for yourself, like, oh, in this situation, I would reverse it. In this situation, I would say no. Okay, go through and try to figure it out for yourself. If you want, you could even act out a couple of them with someone at your house. I think that would be really fun. So either do this with somebody or do it by yourself. But I really hope that you practice these refusal strategies, because even if you haven't come across a situation yet in your life with someone trying to pressure you, the truth is it probably will happen at some point. And having these kind of skills is going to help you overcome it and refuse it. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson on peer pressure, and I hope that you continue to tune in to future lessons. Please comment below, say hi. I would love to hear from you, and I look forward to connecting with you again.